Good morning, Jane. How are you doing today?
Really well, thank you.
I got to tell you, Ruby's Choice, I want to spin back the hands of time for 3 years so I can sit down with my mother and say, Mom, you make a choice. Please, you make the choice. Don't let our sister make the choice for you. This movie is just unbelievable.
Thank you. I'm so glad you watched it. When people watch it, they don't just say, oh, it's a movie. They are really impacted by it. They watch it again and again, and they bring other people in to watch it, people who don't know how to manage that world that all of us are going to be touched by. We're all going to be touched by dementia or Alzheimer's somewhere.
Yeah, because I remember the first time that I bumped into it was with my grandmother, and she kept calling me a different name, and I didn't understand. But as an adult now, I just wish we had more information back in the 1980s of what this is. And I love your outreach with this movie because it is going to teach as well as help heal.
Yes, very much so. I mean, it also is incredibly funny.
Yes.
There is a humor in this, as well as there's obviously, it's incredibly sad. But at the end of the day, everyone ends up making good choices for themselves. Everybody in the whole family, because of Ruby needing to be, if everyone's figuring out what to do about Ruby, then it becomes Ruby is helping them figure out what to do about themselves.
Yes.
And ultimately, the choice is hers as to what she wants. And when presented with it, she says, no, this is my choice. This is what I want. I said, well, you don't. She said, no, I do. That's it. This is it. I'm happy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You'll be happier when you come visit me. Bye. I think it is very healing and very educational, but it's not an educational movie. It's an empowering journey of the human spirit, I think.
Oh, absolutely. You feel it. I mean, you really, in the very beginning, you get the emotional connection of, okay, I've either been through this or I'm going to go through this. But then when you see everybody working together and it's just everything's just the whole entire, it's a big hug for viewers.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm really excited, actually. I'm on social media. I'm really hoping that people will, if they've watched it and if they liked it or they got anything from it, will give feedback, because that's the way that people who need to watch it, who are maybe afraid to watch it because they go, oh no, this is the horror in our household, and this is our big secret and fear, and it's too traumatic for us, to realize that watching this film would be very healing for them.
As dark as dementia is, the thing is that there's a positive that I kind of chuckle with, because when my mother had it, that my entire life I begged my mother to quit smoking. With dementia, she stopped, and I saw that as a gift. And it's like, and then to watch this movie, I'm going, oh my God, we weren't alone here.
No, I think it's really important. I think you just hit the nail on the head. We're not alone here. We're not alone here in whether your marriage is breaking up, which is one of the issues in there. We're not alone here with, when there's tight money in the family and who's going to decide what happens. We're not alone here when you have a granddaughter, who's bullied at school, or who, has to leave school to take care of a grandmother and resents it. And we're not alone here when we have the matriarch of the family, who is bright and everything, now is like a child that can't find the bathroom and is living in the past, so much so that she thinks she's 20 years old in the middle of the night.
Do you think there could be a sequel to this? Because so many of us want to know what happens afterwards. Because I mean, it's like when losing my mother, yes, it hurt, but I feel her presence more today than I did so many other times in my life. And it's like, I want to know that story with everybody else. How did you change, and what can we do to help bring that story forward?
Well, I think this really does tell the story, because, as you said, everybody in the family comes to it together, trying to figure out what to do about Ruby. And ultimately, Ruby's choice is to live in her place, which is the past. So long as she's with other people that aren't constantly telling her, no, you're wrong. No, your husband died 5 years ago. No, you just said that. No, you've just had that cup of tea. This is not your first cup of tea today. I think keeping somebody safe and stimulated with music and art and dance and gardening, walking, just being around other people that aren't going to constantly tell them they're wrong and aren't going to constantly be fearful or sad. They find that they get lost. I mean, I remember being with Glenn Campbell when he was in a memory home, and he was just sitting there, very late stage Alzheimer's, and just staring off. And I was with his wife, and I said, does he know you anymore? She said, well, sort of, a little bit. He knows that I'm somebody that cares about him. So that's good. But then my son, who was very young at the time, like 25 or something, is a musician, and he went and visited with me, and he sat next to Glenn when we weren't looking, and he took Glenn's guitar that was hanging on the wall and started playing one of his songs. And all of a sudden, Glenn just kind of looked at him and started singing harmony. and Kim and I were in shock. And she said, he hasn't connected for the longest time. And, he's automatically singing harmony to a song he's never heard.
Wow.
And so, you just never know what it is that you can connect them to a present moment. And I think that's kind of, one of the fun things.
So let me ask you, when a movie opens up with Glenn Family Productions, is that the Glenn family? Is that Glenn Campbell?
No, guys, it's randomly different names. No, it was actually funded by the Glenn family, who wanted to have this story be told because they have a foundation that called Spark of Life, and Spark of Life helps people understand what the process of dementia is. And Sir Owen Glenn is the man. He's the patriarch of it. And it was their money that made this movie. And in fact, half the proceeds, I believe, goes to Spark of Life.
Wow. I can't thank you enough for putting this movie out here. Please come back to this show anytime in the future.
Thank you.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
I will try to be, yes.
Thank you.
I get to talk about Harry Wilde next week. So.
Oh, excellent.
So you can throw that in there as well if you like.